Ian and Marty are seated and ready to go. Announcements have just ended from the lunch session. So we're going to cut to the action. Ian will get to play first. Ian hails from Florida. Marty Gabriel to respond. He from the greater Chicago area in Illinois. You see the thoughts on vertical openings. Ian has no thoughts at all, and Marty Gabriel does not make vertical opening plays. So rather tepid opinions on vertical openings from these gentlemen, but I expect a very solid technical game of Scrabble from two people who have been playing at an extremely high level for an extremely long time. Andy, do you have any familiarity with these players?
I do have familiarity with Dr. Weinstein. He's a fantastic Scrabble player and a phenomenal human being, very strategic. He is very thoughtful with his approach. And it would not surprise to me at all if he were to win this tournament.
Yeah, Ian has held a rating over 2,000 for an extremely long time, and always right up there in the highest seeds at this tournament. He's had a lot of success at nationals before, but has never been able to close the door and win the whole thing. Marty Gabriel is not a stranger to high-level Scrabble as well. He was the longtime sparring partner of a name that any Scrabbler will know, Brian Capoletto. Marty let us know that he was Brian's sparring partner the year Brian won the North American Championship and also the year Brian won the World Championship. If you have Brian Capoletto to spar against, you're in good company and you're going to learn a lot of valuable lessons. Marty has come back to Scrabble recently. It seems like he's just started taking it more seriously again, and his rating has been on a meteoric rise, shooting into the mid-1900s, up about 150 points over the past calendar year and a half. So, two very solid players, two players who've been playing for a long time, and I expect a great game of Scrabble here. Let's get underway. Ian to go first. Let's play Scrabble. And here we go. A Y, the first tile for Ian, complemented by BRT, A, one another vowel or two in there. There's another A, and an I, AABIRTY, the first pull here for Ian. And Andy, what's jumping out to you so far on this opening rack?
Well, the first thing I see is Ian doesn't have a bingo, but he does have a pretty high scoring play. I think it's going to be about 28 if he wants to use up 6 of his letters. I'll let the chat think about what that word will be, but I would go ahead and do that, especially since early in the game you want to score and also turn over those letters and try to get some of the good stuff.
Yeah, turning over the letters, trying to reach into the bag, and scoring 28 points feels pretty good. BARYTA, and a word I expect Ian to know. It's a word not all the players in this division will, but Ian at the top of his game with a rating over 2,000. Certainly a word he's seen before, though finding it and pulling the trigger on it's a slightly different story. BAY is also a very nice option for him, or ABY, it's anagram. AIRT is a superb leave, synergizes quite well, and it keeps things nice and tight on the board. So BAY and Barita are both really nice options here for Ian. He's got to pick just one, though, and make this play. Andy, would you take the points here, score 28, or would you keep it tight and score 16?
I would take the points. That's 12 points that you're sacrificing and turning over 3 more letters. I would go ahead and do that. And I think this is a type of play that I would expect Ian and his experience at the Division I level to find and play. Bay is something that you might play if you don't know the word. But either option is good. I would be surprised if he did anything else.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those two. It's just a matter of which one we see, as Ian has taken over 2 minutes on this important opening play. And hey, go ahead and take your time here. It's important. Now he's picked up BAY, and BAY is indeed what's coming down on the board. So 16 points there for Ian on the first turn. And Marty with a clunky first rack, EKQPHST. He was really, really hoping for an O to get exposed to play Kof. And in the absence of that, He's either exchanging, playing Cot for 12, or playing Thesp, Thesp, and Bays for 27. Andy, how do you feel about those options?
You know, truthfully, the thing that sticks out to me is, and Marty has it lined up, KAPH, keeping QTES, very defensive, and with 4 U's unseen and all the I's still unseen to Marty. It's a good chance he pulls into, even a bingo, or at the bare minimum, a 40-point Q play. And look at that, he's going for that. And this is a stylistic decision. Other good candidate plays, but I'm very much pleased with Marty's decision here.
This makes his S so strong next turn. If he draws an S, he has QATS and CAFs. If he draws a U, he has Quest and CAFs. So this works out well for him often. But this is the problem. When you miss those, you're now stuck with a Q and nothing good to do with it. You had the A to play it, and you didn't. An interesting decision for Marty there. I definitely agree. Keep it closed, keep it tight. A stylistic decision, as Andy put it, but it's one that doesn't seem like it's going to yield great dividends, at least immediately. ACCIRTT, the rack for Ian, 16 to 13 is his lead, and he's going to have to figure out a response to Marty's tight board. CHIC looks like a really fun play if we want to get bogged down in some stuff, but that takes a number of back hooks. So depending on what Marty has, I could see this going south too. Andy, do you see anything that jumps out on what looks like an awkward turn here for Ian?
Players can get very tempted into spending a lot of time on turns like this. And I think Ian's going to do that because he's a very thoughtful player. I would go ahead and find a candidate play and make it and not waste any more time on this. I don't see any clear-cut better play, but it certainly looks like there's got to be something really good on this rack and based on the board. But really, not many great plays here. Just pick one and move on is what I would do here.
Yeah, always have to figure out how to use your clock effectively. Competitive Scrabble play, you play 25 minutes per side, and generally a game's going to go 10 to 15 turns. So that gives you 1 to 2 minutes for each of your moves. You don't want to get bogged down too often. As Andy said, there's a lot of options that are all very tepid here. So just kind of grab one and move on. But also a chance for Ian to make a big statement about the shape of the board and the kind of game he and Marty are about to play. Do I try to close things off? Do I take this opportunity to blow things wide open? Do I split the difference somewhere between? He's got 2 C's on his rack, which are excellent defending tiles. No 2-letter words in NWL with a C. So he could play something like catch to the H in calf, and without an S, that makes Marty's turn extremely difficult next turn. Or he could try to blow things wide open. A play like itch to the same H opens this board a lot more. A play like CHIC with its abundance of back hooks makes this game interesting as well. I do not know Ian's general tendencies, offense versus defense, bingo versus score. I'm very curious to see how he approaches this turn.
I believe in my experience with Ian is he is a more defensive player, and he lets his phenomenal strategic mind overwhelm his opponents. We saw that with Bay playing it short and defensive. We'll see what he does here, but again, now he's spent more than 3 minutes on a rack that he really shouldn't spend too much any more time on it. Okay, he's good. He's made a play.
So he is opting for the defense, Andy, right on cue, and that exactly what Marty needs for his Q. QAT played almost instantly here. A big turn of events for Marty, who otherwise would have faced a hard decision on that rack. QAT for 24 makes the score 37 for Marty, 30 for Ian, and Ian drawing 4 tiles picks up ADIRTX and an L to go with that. And this board remains tight. Drawing an S, I think, is going to be huge. Marty's already got one. If he's able to capitalize and pull a second S before Ian finds one, that makes it a major advantage for him. This board so strong for the S tile right now and so weak for everything else. All right, CALX, what Ian is opting to play here, and this looks nice. You don't have any good defensive options. You need to unclutter your rack of this X, and you need to try to score something. If Marty has several vowels, he can stack alongside this, but his first two plays of KPH and QT suggest that he does not have a lot of vowels, and Ian has to think, I'm not getting punished too hard too often next to this. Ian would think correctly in most instances, but Marty has found a second vowel, EEFMNST, and set out what looks to be his standout option, FEET, alongside the left side of Calx for 40. Andy, is there any reason not to play feet here, or do you think this has to be it?
I think it's too many points. I think it's a phenomenal play. And now I think Marty's definitely, whenever you're going second, there's always a turning point in the game when the person who goes second takes control of the game. And I think Marty has slowly done that with his play of feet now. I'm curious to see why.
Go ahead.
I was curious why Ian played Calx instead of Calix, knowing, I would have burned the I for 2 more points, and not to put the X next to that juicy double word score, but toss up between those two.
Yeah, and a tough decision to make between those, as I think Calx gets hit more consistently for a medium score, whereas Calix can get hit hard next to it. So I think Ian opting for the less volatile option of those, but he still seeds a big counter in FEET. Ian responds quickly with Rid on that turn. A trio plays in the same spot, but Ian opting to hold on to one of his vowels, RID, the play for 22. And we have now staircased all the way down to the bottom triple as Marty completes the staircase, WO holding AEMNS. Seeing some quick play from Marty here, making it challenging for me to keep up, but WO seems standard, and then JOB right back from Ian. I don't think there's much else he should do there, and he's picking up some extra time. JOB down to the B and Bay, his play. Oh, geez. AEEMNSU now on Marty's rack. He leads 107 to 100. He does not have a playable bingo on this turn, and he gets to decide, now that he has the powerful S, whether he should cash it in now, whether he should try to set up the opportunity to bingo, or something else. He can score 30 points. KAPHS and Seamen, SEAMEN, is 30. He can also score 21 and score very well. AYE or EYE are good options that keep an S for him. Andy, what do you think? Do you cash in the S now, or do you keep things smaller and play a couple of vowels?
I would personally, since Marty is now taking control of this game, I would just slot 2 vowels, maybe play I, EYE, or A, AYE, pick up, 20 points, and keep the pressure on Ian, because if Ian doesn't have an S, what is he going to do after you make that play? Marty has the S, so he can really build towards it and further cement his board control.
Yeah, I think you've got the S. Keep the board nice and controlled is probably the right approach here for Marty. There's no reason to break up. If Seaman had a better leave, maybe, but you're holding on to just a U. If you're going to blow up the rack, you want to try to be in good shape next turn, and holding just a U, you're not really in very good shape. U is a bad tile, and anytime you're holding more vowels than consonants, even if it's just one vowel, you want to try to avoid that if you can. So we're likely going to see Marty play small here. I'm curious to see how small. Plunking just an A here feels pretty good too. OKA and AY, but plunking AE feels really solid as well. Tough turn.
There's only 5 A's unseen to Marty, and there's a lot more E's. Usually E's are more valuable than A, but Marty may be thinking about that A may start to get a little bit more valuable as this game progresses here. And I guess he's debating between using AYE or EYE. I like AYE just because I want to guarantee having an E next turn, and it looks like that is what he's opting to do.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said, Andy. AYE is what I would play in this instance. I like this play quite a bit, and Marty's opted to do it here. So 128 to 100 the lead for Marty, but it feels a lot bigger for us here in the booth because that S is so important. And look at that, a second S now on Marty's rack, EGMNSSU. It's going to be nice for him next turn. But over to Ian, who holds AEIPRTY. He's got to try to score some points before this one gets out of hand, but this board is so tight now. He had his Y spot, the catchy hook, knocked out, but has earned a different Y spot, OKA, taking the back Y. And I think Ian's going to play parity and OK here. What do you think about this play, Andy?
I think that's the kind of play Ian absolutely needs to make. And he needs to play it with OK and not Pep, because it's 2 more points up there, but also he needs to open this board up. You know, he's lost control of this game. This is going to help him get some of that control back.
Yes, this is a perfect way to work his way out of the corner that he's been backed into with some kind of clunky draws. Parity is a really nice play here from Ian. 30 points puts him ahead as well, 130 to 128. And he did not give Marty either of the floaters that would allow Marty to bingo. EGMNSSU forms 2 8-letter words, glumness and smugness, but neither one available for Marty. So he's going to have to make an intermediate play on this turn instead. This is likely where we're going to see an S get cashed in, KAPHS, and smug or sung or something like that. But also the 6-letter REGNUM plays from the R in parity for 24 points and holds both of these powerful S tiles. What do you think about that, Andy?
I like your first suggestion of smug. That's a fantastic play, keeping a phenomenal lead, and it still keeps, it puts Marty in good shape for what's to come.
Yeah, smug is just so hard to pass up. Holds ENS, which is about as good as you're going to do out of this rack. It scores 28 points as well. It looks like a really nice play. But Marty definitely wants to take his time here. These intermediate plays drive the pace of the game. And when you have a bunch of options within a few points of each other, you want to make sure you do exactly the one that is best for you, your rack, your situation, and this game's score. Take your time, Marty, but smug looks to be the best thing. This is going to I guess you have to ask yourself the question too, if you're Marty, am I 100% sure about the back hooks of smug if I put it out here? Smug feels like it's probably an adjective, like that's the way we all know it, but Scrabble's always going to Scrabble. Words always have second definitions that you don't expect. So you'd hate to play smug here if there's a possibility that it takes the back S and you're not sure. Or I know because I was able to look it up that it doesn't. But maybe that's why Marty took the extra second here as well. He does pull the trigger on it. Smug for 28 to play for Marty. And Ian, ADEEMOR now, looks to keep pace. Marty's ahead by 26, and Ian's highest scoring play, 26. So we'll see.
Well, Ian has done a fantastic job of getting some of that time pressure off of him. He's kind of sped up his play the past couple of plays, so he's done a good job with that. This is another one of those turns where he may spend a long time, and I think I would do too, because this is a tough decision in this game. I see 2 options that I would consider. One of them's shorter, uses the M, and the other one is the higher scoring play that you referred to. And it depends on what style does Ian want the rest of this game to be.
Yeah, so Ian has a 6-tile play, armored, ARMORED, through the R in parity. That's what he's set up now. That scores 26, and it seems a little bit wild at first glance to break up this dream combination, ADEMR. Those are great bingo leaves, or great bingo tiles. Or ADER by itself is an awesome leave. He's got great plays like MAE on top of smug, or MADE on top of smug, but with two unseen blanks and nothing indicating to me that one of them is on Marty's rack right now, I think I want to go digging into this bag. I think I want to play armored here. And I think that's what we might see Ian do as well. He's now looking for bingos right now, and he should. This looks like it might bingo, but I know that it's not going to. And here it comes. Great, great decision from Ian in my book. What do you say, Andy?
I agree. This is a fantastic choice by Ian. And he did the right thing. Spent some time just to see if there's a bingo, saw that there was none, pulled the trigger, turned over a lot of tiles, scored a lot. Great play.
Yeah, great stuff from both of these players, as promised so far in this game. And it is tied 156 to 156. Marty ELNNOOS would possibly have just one 8-letter bingo if a U were exposed on this board, but nobody's home, and he's going to face another tricky intermediate decision on this turn. I think his top options are probably going to utilize the E in armored, LENO or LENOS in that spot, score 16 or 30 respectively. But it also makes a lot of sense here to just try to play off two O's and an N. NOO or ONO in a whole bunch of different spots on this board could be used if he's looking to bingo next turn. This is a tough turn and one that I can't analyze this quickly. But Andy, what does your gut say right now?
Well, you pointed out a fantastic play. Leno's, OK's, and making a lot of overlaps. You're right. It's his last S, and you may be tempted to say, I don't want to use it. But take a look at this board. There is no S hook, unless Marty thinks that Smug takes an S, which is very possible. It does look like it could take an S. But Leno's for 30 is the play I would make. You don't need the S at this point, but you want the points. I would go ahead and play Leno's. And also, all the other options, I don't see any other play that scores even 20 points other than Leno's.
I would have a hard time putting an S on Leno, LENOS. That's one of those boggle words where, like, oh, it's all 1 point letters. Those come up all the time in Boggle, but those are almost never the correct play in Scrabble. It doesn't make sense to play off the tiles ELNOS and to know every possibility you can make with those letters because you just don't do it often. You keep those letters instead. MENO does not take an S, but LENO does. You got to have that knowledge in order to unlock that play. That's tricky.
Marty's setting up Nolo somewhere. Is he going to play that underneath Smug? Or is he going to play that on top of Armored? Okay.
So Nolo coming down beneath Smug. Nolo crucially does take the back S, so strengthening his S once again. It was the most powerful tile on this board a few turns ago and lost nearly all of its value over just a few turns. But setting up another S spot is Marty, and he'll see if he can cash in on it next turn. Ian went digging in the bag at last turn, playing off 6 tiles, looking for a blank, and instead, surprise, it's vowels for you, Ian. AEEIILV. And this is going to be a tough turn for Ian to navigate. Want to play off as many of these vowels as you can, but the problem with vowels is every single one of them scores just 1 point, so you almost never score well while slogging through vowels. ELEMI plays for 21 through the M in armored. Ian's got alive set up on his rack right now, and I think we're going to see him play this with underneath armored, making AE, going off into the left side of the board, though it also plays for 20 points, making a go. I don't think we'd see Ian make that kind of play, given the game plan he's committed to so far. And there it is. Before I can even put Andy on the spot, alive comes down on top for 18. EFINNSU is Marty's rack and 2 playable bingos in 2 separate quadrants of the board for him. He has the more straightforward funnies, FUNNIES, making no lows. Got to be 100% that no low, that confusing legal term, takes an S. The other bingo plays through the P at the top of the board. I won't say it just quite yet, in case you want to puzzle yourself, go solving some stuff. But 2 playable bingos here for Marty. And now that it's been spoiled in chat, fine spun the bingo at the top. Andy, what do you like? Funnies for 75, fine spun for 65.
I would take the points and play funnies. But also, I'll be honest, I don't think I would have seen Fine Spun. And also, if I'm not 100% sure on Fine Spun, I'll take the funnies, which I would be confident in playing. We've gone halfway through this game without a single bingo. You don't usually see that in Division 1, but we've had a very thoughtful, strategic game otherwise.
I don't often see no bingos on a board at this juncture, absolutely, but also neither blank drawn to unlock those bingos for these players. For those newer to competitive Scrabble, the average Division One player averages close to 2 bingos a game. I'd put it in the neighborhood of 1.7 to 2 bingos a game, depending on your style and your preferences. But yeah, unusual to see nothing at this juncture for sure. Though I expect Marty to change that here. Hard to spot fine spun. I did not know that word. I would have 100% missed it in this situation. And I think I would talk myself out of Nolo taking a back S here because I know those legal words get really weird and those Latin words get really weird. I think Marty's having the same question right now as he stares down a tough turn.
Is Marty an attorney?
That is a good question. I don't know enough about Marty to answer that.
Maybe
I'm sure I
maybe
knew this.
the chat may be able to help us, but I feel like he actually might be an attorney, and that might be why he's not pulling the trigger on funnies and Nolo. For me, I didn't know Nolo was a legal term, so I would have pulled the trigger on the S hook there, but he might be an attorney, and therefore it's understandable he hasn't pulled the trigger here yet.
I've pled nolo contendere or whatever, however you say it before, on a speeding ticket where I felt like I didn't commit an infraction, but the cop disagrees. I'm not actually going to check the box that I'm guilty. I'm going to plead that I didn't do it, but fine, just take my money and leave me alone. Nolo contendere or something like that. But it does take the S. Yeah, as we've pointed out a couple of times with the smug turn and then with the Nolo turn, you can't make that play if you're uncertain of the hooks. If you had a bunch of other options, NOO or ONO in a number of spots, like play something you know the hooks of. Don't put yourself in this situation. Those intermediate turns, you've got to decide. But it's possible he can't pull the trigger on funnies. It's possible he can't pull the trigger on Nolos. It's possible he's seen all of this and is just trying to figure out what his best bingo is. I don't know Marty's game well enough to tell you what he's thinking here, but I do know that this is a really important turn for him to get right.
The post bingo draw, assuming Marty bingos, is going to be equally as important because look at what Ian has on the other side. He's got absolute dread. And Ian's probably shaking his head thinking, what is going on? Both blanks still unseen. He probably thinks Marty has at least one of the blanks. And if Marty bingos and Ian sees that Marty's bingoing without a blank, he will be very, very worried here.
Yeah, this can't feel good if you're Ian. Yes, technically you're winning this game, but if you had to put an approximator on your win percentage, it's surely under 50 and probably below 40 right now, just given how bad your rack is and the goodies that are unseen that might be on Marty's rack. It's going to feel even worse if he gets bingoed on with a natural, because that means Marty gets 7 chances to draw one of those 2 blanks, or even both of them. I think Marty's going to pass up on this for one reason or another. FEN, the play for Marty, as he's missed both funnies and fine spun. Big swing.
And I think that's okay. You know, if you're not sure, you can play it safe. He has tempo, and the way that you lose tempo is you lose your turn and by playing a phony. So, and Fen is not a bad consolation prize. It scores more than 30 points, and I think it's a fine consolation play.
Yeah, if you're not going to play the bingo, FEN feels really good. And I think if Marty didn't have a really high scoring bailout here, he probably would have tried to roll the dice on a bingo. But FEN scores 32. You feel like you're in control of this game. This makes sense too. It's hard to pull the trigger unless you're sure. 201 to 174, Marty's lead. Ian with the tough AEEHIOU rack and a tough decision to make here. I think AHI beneath alive, making AH and LI for 29 warrants trying to fight through this rack for a turn, but exchanging 7 and just trying to draw a blank also feels really appropriate at this juncture. That pool has like staring, stirring, just all the bingo prone tiles a bunch of times in a row. Feels like if you're IN exchanging 7 is good, but 29 is also really good. Andy, what do you think? 29 points, or would you throw back 7 here?
I would actually have played Ohia, OHIA, underneath Nolo for about 26. And I know it really throws this board open, but it does fork this board to the point where Ian's got to think to himself, you probably need a bingo to win this game. Marty's played short, small plays the last couple of turns. I would have done Ohia, but Ahi is still fine. And look at Ian's rack. It has definitely worked out for him. He's got a rack that I've had before. And Marty's got a fantastic rack too. Let's see what happens on this turn. This is going to be a fantastic finish here in this game, I bet.
Yeah, neither player wanted to draw a blank. Both players draw them on back-to-back turns. This is an interesting swing of events and another extremely challenging turn here for Marty. He does not have playable bingos. He has 2 different plays that might justify burning the blank anyway. He has 47 points and 50 points in different areas of the board, burning the blank but holding on to his S. He also has ZINES through the E in armored if he wants to keep the blank. But the Z, the S, the blank, all great power tiles for Marty right now. He's got to cash in some, but not all. OUZO, using the blank as an O, and just playing blank UZ. Plays down to the O in armored for 47 and holds INST. Utilize plays through the LI in alive and Ahi for 50, holding NS. And then there's also the very standard feeling Lutz, just LUTZ down from the L in Nolo. Puts a Z in a triple line, but keeps an incredible leave. Andy, this is a really hard turn, one that probably warrants 5 minutes of brain power, but I'm going to put you on the spot right now. What does your gut say to do?
You agree. This is a 5-minute turn for sure. And Marty, this is not a turn I would personally want to have to deal with because it really does make a difference. I don't see any play that really stands out. The one that I think I would just do and move on would probably be, I would just do ZD. I don't think I burn the blank here, and I don't burn the S here because the S is so valuable for that Nolo hook, and I wouldn't burn the blank for Auza, although it is tempting. I would just play ZD for 26 and hope I can pull into a bingo next turn.
ZD for 26 is a much stronger play if you know that Nolo takes NS. And Marty already backing out of funnies and Nolos earlier, I think he does not feel that word takes NS. If you put that into the calculus, ZITI is a play that seldom leads to a bingo, so that's likely what he's thinking here. But this turn is very hard for Marty. It feels strange to play a blank for 45 or 50 in a neck-and-neck game. It feels strange to put a Z right next to a triple and only score 23 points in a neck-and-neck game. I have no idea what Marty's supposed to do here, and I'm glad I'm not in his situation with under 7 minutes to figure it out against Ian Weinstein.
He could play Zins and Fens for 31 points. And if you're not sure on Nolo, I think that is a fine play to close off that hook and score well while keeping the blank. And if you look at the unseen pool, not many letters are going to kill Marty with that triple word score like a J or a Q. So it's possible that 31 for either Zins or Zits is what's coming down.
The longer I look at this turn, the more I feel like maybe playing Uzo for 47 is actually the right thing to do here. But so much of what you do on this turn depends on how sure Marty is on whether or not Nolo takes an S. if it absolutely doesn't versus if it absolutely does. If he's 80-20, 20-80, or 50-50 on it, this turn becomes very different. So if you're not sure, I like this idea for Marty. Just get rid of it. And also scare Ian a lot. Like if I'm playing off one S with the big juicy S hook, does he think I have another one? Get in his head, play ZD, score some points. I like this approach from Marty. And I also, crucially, he just needs to do something and leave some time on the clock. This game is too close to get bogged down in time trouble late. Oh, and Ian has Lauerer. I'm just kidding, Andy. I had to make that joke with you on stream. One of my all-time favorite moments.
To be fair, Ian is too good a player to opt for that 0-point bingo. Instead, he will take the far more lucrative 59-point bingo. And I think that might be his only playable bingo. There's no 7 with an S. So it was either that or I think that's a good play.
Yeah, it is Ian's only bingo, and hugely, he plays it instantly here. That is a turn it is so easy to spend a lot of time on. He got to look at the board and assess the floating P and all that on Marty's turn, but he puts Marty right back on the clock. And Marty's drawn a great rack, but again has to make this decision on Nolo taking a back S, unfreeze, or censure, or a number of other bingos play. But all of Marty's bingos play down that N column and back hook Nolo with an S. He didn't pull the trigger on this earlier. Is he going to now? It looks like he's setting up NEUM and EUME as options instead. I think Marty thinks Nolo doesn't take an S.
Well, I mean, it goes back to what you said a long time ago about you can't make plays if you're not sure if they're hooks. And that is why you don't do that. I think Marty, maybe, he's in a position where if he's not sure, he may have to just try it anyways and hope it takes an S. And this is the piece of advice I give to all the players out there is if you're not sure if a word takes an S, stick an S on it, because the worst thing that can happen is your opponent challenges it off. If you just don't do anything about it, then you're always going to be wondering every single turn, does this take an S? And then what happens if your opponent does put an S? Then you're got to think about, are you challenging or not? If you're not sure of an S hook, stick an S and see what happens.
It took me about 10 years of playing competitive Scrabble before I came to that exact same conclusion, Andy. Like, I'm not going to sit here all game with a hook I'm not sure of. I'm just going to try it. And if it comes off, at least now I know and I can make informed decisions for the rest of the game. That's a great point. Great novice advice. Just try it. You've got to know one way or the other so you don't end up exactly where Marty is right now, trying to make this choice every single turn and burning all of your clock, continuing to try to do all of this. I really feel for him right now. It's a tough bind to be in.
I guess if you're not sure of Nolo taking a back S, what are you going to do if you're Marty? You could be cheeky and you could play pure through parity and Eurodels. You only have 2 unseen E's and you have and only 1 unseen R. I mean, when you're down and you're not sure about the hooks, that's okay. Ian definitely thinks it takes it. Ian knows it takes an S. I expect nothing less of him, and he is going for it.
All right, and AEG, I think, or AIG rather, the pull for Marty, AEGIRS blank, and now he gets to make other decisions. He's pulled bingos that play in other segments of the board, so no longer forced to make this no-lows decision, but he has to find the bingos that play in the other spot. He has bingos that play instead of back hooking no-low, he can play beneath no-low with 4 overlaps. Gassier, Gassier, making funds and egos, is 83. If he finds this, he no longer has to make the challenging decision.
If Marty finds this, he'll be the favorite to win this game because this board will be very close after that.
Oh, man, Gassier is just the perfect draw that he could have had, but he is so low on time that he just has to do something, and he plays Grizz to the Z here. So showing us he's pretty sure Nolo doesn't take an S, and then missing the underlap is Marty as he's into time crunch. Denostw now for Ian. Ian would love to try to keep this time pressure on. He's down by just 2, but with Marty down in 2 minutes, he's probably not going to play an optimal end game. He's probably not going to play close to an optimal end game. Maybe Ian, with some time pressure, can win this one, but this is also such an important turn for Ian. This is 5 for 5 now on incredible games on stream. I have no idea who's going to win or what's going to happen or what Ian should even do. Wow. A wide WIDE plays beneath armored, just playing off W and D. And if Ian knows Nolo takes a back S, then that play is awesome. A superb leave, scoring pressure, leave the hook available for yourself. But we know that Marty has bypassed the hook a number of times. From Ian's point of view right now, there's a chance Marty has just never drawn a good play that goes there, and Marty could beat him to the punch. So I have no idea how Ian should spend his time here, whether he should rush, whether he should go slow, whether he should open, whether he should fish for a no-lows bingo. This is a really challenging turn and a really, really important turn for Ian. Andy, do you have initial thoughts on this?
I would play wide, as you suggested. Scores 27 and keeps a phenomenal lead. Look at the unseen tiles in the right-hand upper corner from Ian's perspective. You play wide, you're bingoing more than 50% of the time next turn. And, you also there's 8 in the bag. You play 2. That extends the game a little bit more. And with time on your side, that's certainly another thing to push me in this direction of wide. I love the play of wide, and I expect Ian to actually make this play. I don't see any other great candidates that are superbly better.
These are the kinds of Scrabble games that I love, where there's questioning whether or not a word is good. There's defense versus offense. There's trench warfare going on, and there's time pressure on top of it all. This is excellent stuff. And SOWN, Ian knocks out the S hook. He sees great stuff unseen. He feels the time crunch on Marty right now, and he says, all right, you're not going to beat me with the bingo. You're going to beat me in a tight end game. Let's go. SOWN is a great idea from Ian. AGUE is the obvious and immediate play that Marty so desperately needed to try to get one easy turn and try to milk what's left of his clock for the rest of this game. And DDEIINT is going to be Ian's second to last rack this game. Just one tile in the bag. And if you look at the unseen pool from Ian's POV, BEGINRS blank, he's ahead by 13. There's one tile in the bag. This is an extremely challenging one in the bag end game for Ian. Luckily, he has 8 minutes to figure it out.
And I would use each one of those minutes right here, plan it out, think about if this letter is in the bag, what am I going to do next? Plan out a perfect end game here. Ian is very capable of doing that, and I think if he takes his time, he should win this game. Sohn was a marvelous play, absolutely scored well. It closed down that part of the board. Ian just has to make sure he doesn't open something up to allow Marty to bingo. I don't expect him to do that. Be curious to see what he's going to play. The only play that really stood out to me at first is Vid for 21, making Ahi and Lid. We'll see what he's thinking, but he's going to go through that unseen pool, each one of those 8 letters, and says, if this is in the bag, what am I going to do after that? And he should win the game because he's been very thoughtful and careful and meticulous with his approach.
There's one play that is so good for Ian. It's not quite this, but this does the same thing. NITID. This lets you figure out that one in the bag end game easily. I'm almost definitely going out with any tile I pull into DE, even if it's a B. Like I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out no matter what, I think, after this. The better option for Ian there was tidied, TIDIED, playing in the same spot but reaching down and back hooking Fend to make Fend. That was 29 and 100% to win the game from Ian's POV. Knighted instead the play, and going fast is a huge part of the operation there. You just got to go and put Marty on the clock one more time. So knighted, and that's going to be the play for Ian, Beinrs blank, the last rack for Marty. He is down by 28. He's got to feel like he needs a bingo to win the game, and nobody's home.
Well, let's applaud both of these players for playing a fantastic game. Very thoughtful, meticulous. Just one bingo, and it wasn't even more than 59 points. So a tight game, the kind of game that I think suits Ian's strategy and strengths well. And we saw that throughout the game.
This is a game that Ian should not have won, and one that I feel he stole with his time pressure that he put on Marty. Marty's a great player, but down in a time crunch, if Marty has more time, he sees gassier and wins this game. But because Ian did such a good job putting time pressure on, this is a game that he stole because of the way he chose to play this game. And this is exactly the kind of player Andy told us that Ian would be. Keep things tight, keep things closed, and just beat you in a nasty trench warfare type game. That's exactly what he's done here.
Well, Marty has trickled into the overtime penalty, and he has wisely realized that he can spend up to another minute to rethink his play. He is already going to pay the 10-point penalty no matter what.
At this point, once you're down, you've got to feel, okay, I'm not going to win this game by beating you in the end game and finding a great sequence. So now that I'm over, I might as well sit here, go 3 or 4 minutes over, and do everything I can to try to find a bingo. But just in the absence of lines on the board, maybe you don't. So he's going to play brings, Brings, hold on to that E. And Ian can go out in 2 spots. He's got GUDE through the U in Euro deals. He's also got GED and SIG and DE alongside knighted. So Ian guaranteed to go out. Marty can't obstruct both. And right at the 1 minute mark, Marty makes his play of brings. That'll bring Marty within 325 to 328. But Ian, with his outplay for 15, is going to hang on and win this game by 20. Wow.
Well, hopefully we can get on the microphone after the game to see if what Marty thought about no-lows or funnies, and be good to see what he was thinking about that. But still a good game played by both players.
We do have overhead mic. I don't know what kind of post-mortem we're going to get, but let's cut to the overhead mic and see if we can catch any wisdom from these gents.
It's a 15 or 10. Got 15. Average 3, 4, 5, 3, 1, 5. Crazy. Hated to do this, but I had to.
No, it doesn't take the outside, I think.
Oh, I like S for sure.
You're a lawyer, right?
No, but
Aren't you? I thought
play
you.
one or two.
I thought it took one, but then
I think
was
it
thinking-
takes.
But then I mean, if it does, then I got to
Yeah.
which I should have. I mean,
I think it takes.
I gave up with 2 or 3 bingos there because I thought.
I would not have challenged. I played this to defend it.
Then that's what I'm doing because I should have played it. I think it takes it.
Yeah,
I don't know
do
why.
too.
I talked to myself. I figured
I
guess
I didn't have a play.
I
You
should-
blocked,
yeah.
you blocked a recouple. I mean, I've Loudner and Euro deals. I like
I
Euro
should have
deals.
just done it because I'm telling myself it does, and I talked myself out of it. I thought I remembered you were a lawyer. And I
No
thought-
panic. Yeah, that's perfect. That takes.
No, I had the game.
The purpose of this was for me. I'm not going to
Well,
play
you
this.
scored. You scored well there too, and then
You have
that
to
was
blind
a
S.
tight
I mean,
game. Yeah.
I can't play this. I've got to just play it. I
That was killing me the whole game because I thought I just looked at that recently and I thought it does take an S. And somehow I talked myself out of it. And it's multiple times. So that's.
I wouldn't have challenged, let's put it that way. Whether it's good or not, it would have stayed. That is good.
Shit. Oh, man, that's just...
So,
I gotta trust myself and that stuff. Telling myself it's good, I don't want to talk myself out of it. I could have played at least 2 or 3 times here. I don't know, I just was off when I was off on the scoring. It kind of threw me too because I thought, well, I have enough lead. Why risk it? And then somehow I don't know how I did it. It was 40, and somehow I misread.
40 was plenty considering.
Well, no, yeah, but I wrote it as 97. I don't know how I got to that. But
right.
It was like, with that kind of a lead, I thought, well, I don't need to take a chance. And but then the game, after we corrected it, it's right up the end. That's a giveaway. Yeah, too big of a lunch. Too big of a salad. I'm telling myself, eat half of it, don't eat the whole thing. Then listen to myself. Things were going fine for me. I was in good shape.
That's about right. Did you have all consonants? Or?
No, but I had a lot of I had the cue at the end, and there's a lot of things.
I played about right to BARYTA. That's got to be better keeping on.
I just thought I looked at that. That's like chicken out. I don't get it.
All right, so a spicy one there. Ian Weinstein and Marty Gabriel treating us to a truly enjoyable game and a 20-point win for Ian. He moves to 5-0. Marty at 4-1 through 5 games of action. This is day 1 of the 5-day Scrabble Players Championship, brought to you by NASPA and hosted in South Bend, Indiana. We'll cut away from the action for this one. There are 2 more games of Scrabble today and 24 or more additional rounds on days 2 through 5. All of it's going to be brought to you right here on twitch.tv/Scrabble. We'll be here at 9 a.m. every day, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We are going to cut away to a brief intermission while we corral the next players, let these guys finish their post-mortem, so on and so forth. But Matt Canik and Andy Hoang on the mic. We'll be back with 2 more games of Scrabble in just a few short minutes. Don't go anywhere.